you're in a relationship and feel that something isn't quite right, his distant attitude doesn't align with his words that contrast plant seeds of doubt. Slowly, a sense of inconsistency begins to stir inside you. You wonder, is this paranoia? Or is it a sign of something deeper, perhaps manipulation? According to Carl Jung, the human mind cannot keep its true intentions hidden forever. The subconscious always finds a way to reveal itself, whether through subtle gestures, recurring behaviors, or even silence. Imagine discovering unmistakable signs that a man is not genuinely interested in you, but only in what he can gain. The human psyche operates through symbols and patterns, and relationships are no exception. Since ancient times, the same story repeats itself. The one who controls makes promises, then vanishes when most needed. He manipulates with small, carefully measured displays of interest, just enough to make you believe your desires are within reach. But in truth, he offers nothing real. The most concerning part is that he knows exactly how to sustain this illusion without your awareness. If you've experienced this before, or if you feel caught in such a cycle now, it's time to prepare yourself. There are 8 behaviors that reveal when a man is using you without genuine intention. Some are so subtle they're easy to miss. Others are obvious, yet you may have trained yourself to overlook them. The final one, the 8th, is the most dangerous because it convinces women to remain in relationships where they will never truly be a priority. One of the clearest signs is the absence of commitment. At first, he may seem captivating, charming, attentive, always saying the right things, showing up at just the right time to hold your attention. But gradually you notice that despite his presence, uncertainty never leaves. Something always feels slightly out of place. Jung taught that such behavior reflects an inner conflict between the mask a person presents and the hidden truths of the subconscious. He rejects loneliness, yet he avoids real intimacy. This push and pull closeness, followed by distance, becomes a trap that holds you. This lack of clarity is not accidental. It is a psychological strategy. As you try to decipher his feelings, you find yourself growing more invested, drawn deeper into the hope of winning him over. The mind longs for what seems just out of reach. Jung might describe this as the archetype of illusion, a recurring pattern in the human psyche that makes us idealize what we fear we may never obtain. Such a man never truly expresses his emotions. Instead, he offers fragments just enough to keep you guessing. When you ask about the future, he avoids giving answers. When pressed to define his intentions, he insists on letting things unfold naturally. Yet this spontaneity always works in his favor, never yours. In reality, he has no destination in mind. He is simply prolonging a game in which he always wins, while you remain ensnared in the illusion that one day he will finally change. This dynamic leaves a profound imprint on the subconscious. Jung spoke of the anima and animus, the feminine and masculine aspects within every soul. Many women who become entangled with such men carry an unconscious belief that love must be earned, that if they are patient, if they give enough, he will eventually see their worth. But this is only an illusion, one that carries great risk. Because this man is not searching for love. He is searching for convenience. And convenience demands nothing, not commitment, not truth, not love. It doesn't demand much from you, only your emotional availability. He feeds on your hope, knowing that as long as you continue to believe in the possibility of something more, you will keep settling for far less than you deserve. At this point, Jung will pose the question, why are you willing to maintain such a bond? What within you keeps this pattern alive? The solution does not lie in him, but in something far deeper inside yourself. According to Jung, the shadow holds all of our hidden suffering, fears, and beliefs, the invisible forces that guide our choices. Perhaps you've mistaken fleeting attention for genuine affection. Perhaps the fear of loneliness convinces you to accept any form of companionship, no matter how shallow or inconsistent. Yet, the truth is undeniable. Until you confront that hidden part within, you will continue to attract men who use you without ever offering true commitment. This leads to the second behavioral pattern: independence disguised as distance. At first, he seems confident, self-sufficient, uninterested in conflict. But with time, it becomes clear that his independence is a fortress, an emotional wall built to block genuine intimacy. Jung taught that each of us projects our inner world onto others. This man projects an image of strength and detachment, concealing a profound fear of emotional commitment. He avoids meaningful conversations, evades honesty, and when you try to draw closer, he responds vaguely or shifts the topic entirely. This barrier is not accidental. It serves a purpose, keeping you close without requiring him to give anything in return. Once you reveal your feelings, the pattern becomes obvious. Show affection, and he withdraws. Express pain, and he dismisses you as too dramatic. Here lies the contradiction Jung described: the divide between the persona, the mask we show the world, and the shadow we keep hidden. These men crave female companionship without the burden of intimacy. They seek someone to fulfill their temporary needs, yet refuse the depths of connection. And the more you try to break through that wall, the more out of place you begin to feel for simply wanting something real. This dynamic activates a dangerous unconscious process. Jung believed that a woman's psyche often tries to heal old wounds through relationships. It's why some women are drawn to men who cannot reciprocate. The hidden belief whispers, if I am patient enough, if I prove my worth, he will finally open up. But that transformation never comes. You were never the problem. His distance is not a wound waiting for your love to heal. It is a deliberate choice that serves him. And so Jung would ask again, why does this absence affect you so deeply? Why accept a relationship where you are forever chasing what will never be given? The answer will never be found in him, but only in the deepest layers of your own emotional history. Perhaps it is fear of rejection. Perhaps it is the unconscious belief that real love must be difficult in order to feel meaningful. Yet the truth is simple. A man who genuinely cares does not keep you uncertain about his feelings. He does not build walls to hold you at a distance. If you find yourself in such a dynamic, it may be time to stop exhausting yourself against that barrier and instead ask what drives you to keep pressing forward. The third behavior reveals itself through subtle manipulation disguised as charm. He never sets restrictions, never raises his voice, rarely engages in open conflict. On the surface, he seems calm, self-assured, even indifferent. But beneath that calm lies another trap. But gradually, you begin to sense that something is not quite right. According to Carl Jung, the unconscious communicates not through words but through symbols, patterns, and silences subtle cues that often go unnoticed, yet shape our deepest emotions. And in this relationship, you constantly feel left behind, always deciphering, always striving to capture his attention. The truth is, this mental game is not accidental. It is calculated. He knows how to make you feel uncertain without uttering a single word. The pattern repeats itself with precision. When you are joyful and radiant, he grows distant. When you begin to withdraw, he returns offering affection and vague promises. When you express discomfort, he downplays it, deflects the conversation, or convinces you that you are overreacting. Jung taught that the human psyche is built upon contradictions, and men like this thrive within that ambiguity. They grant just enough hope to keep you invested, but never the stability you truly need. In this way, your mind remains on constant alert, searching for signs, analyzing motives, building an emotional bond that paradoxically deepens his hold over you. The cruelest part of this dynamic is that the more you invest emotionally, the harder it becomes to recognize the manipulation. Jung described the shadow as the hidden dimension of the self, the place where we bury what we reject or fear about ourselves. Women who remain in these relationships often carry a subconscious belief that love must be earned, that they must prove their worth, wait patiently, and eventually they will be seen. But this man will never meet your expectations. Because subtle manipulation is never about reaching a destination. It is about preserving control. And so the question Jung would have us ask is this: why are you drawn to someone who makes you feel perpetually insecure? What within you has learned to mistake emotional instability for passion? The subconscious can be a master of deception. Sometimes we seek in others what we most need to heal within ourselves. But true love does not breed anxiety. It does not make you question your worth, nor does it trap you in constant uncertainty. If someone offers just enough to keep you trying, it may be time to pause and ask why you continue to participate. The fourth behavior reveals itself through emotional unavailability hidden beneath indifference. At first, he appears calm, easygoing, content with whatever comes. But as the relationship deepens, an unsettling imbalance emerges. While you pour in energy, care, and effort to keep the bond alive, he simply receives offering little to nothing in return. According to Carl Jung, relationships mirror the unconscious. If a man never reciprocates, it means you were never his priority, though he will never admit this outright. Instead, he pretends everything is fine, quietly taking advantage of your devotion without giving anything real in return. The cycle soon becomes clear. When you're fully present, he withdraws. When you grow tired and pull away, he notices and offers small gestures to draw you back in, just enough to spark hope again. Jung taught that the psyche thrives on repeating patterns, and this rhythm of distance and return is no accident. He stays in the cycle because uncertainty creates emotional bonds. And so you find yourself endlessly trying to maintain balance, hoping for the moment when he will finally reciprocate. But that moment never arrives because he is not invested in building something genuine. He is simply benefiting from what you give, without any true commitment of his own. Often, this lack of reciprocity is dismissed as personality. You tell yourself he just doesn't like pressure or expresses emotions differently. But Jung warns us, in unbalanced relationships, there is always a hidden truth we would rather not face. If you are the one who constantly makes the effort, solves the problems, and sacrifices to avoid conflict, then the relationship is not balanced, it is draining. The longer you remain this dynamic, the more you adapt to receiving less than you deserve, convincing yourself that this is normal. And yet the essential question Jung would ask is this: why do you devote yourself to someone who never gives back? What within you believes it is necessary to keep proving yourself to a man who offers only the bare minimum? The subconscious can keep us trapped in destructive cycles, but it can also open the door to freedom if we dare to confront it. True partnership is built on mutual recognition, respect, and reciprocity. If someone only takes without giving, perhaps the change needed is not in him, but in your choice to keep tolerating it. The fifth behavior reveals itself in subtle belittlement disguised as humor. At first, his lighthearted teasing may seem witty, fun, even charming, but over time, the tone shifts. His comments about you no longer feel harmless. He mocks your style, diminishes your achievements, suggests you could be doing more, or compares you casually to other women. According to Jung, the mind operates on many levels, and this behavior reflects more about him than it does about you. Beneath the jokes lie insecurity and the need for control. Through seemingly innocent remarks, he chips away at your confidence, making you question your worth. The tactic is deceptive precisely because it doesn't appear as direct criticism. If you feel hurt by one of his jokes and try to respond with something like, "Wow, you're very observant," he quickly shifts the focus, making it seem as if you are the one overreacting. According to Jung, unconscious behavior follows recurring patterns, and this kind of subtle influence appears when someone seeks to gain power without showing aggression. His aim is simple: to generate insecurity in you. An insecure woman is far easier to manipulate, often without even realizing it. Slowly, you may begin to adjust your behavior, your style of dress, even your thoughts, shaping yourself to fit what he considers acceptable or worthy of approval. The greatest danger lies in the fact that This belittling is not always obvious. Sometimes it hides within compliments laced with irony or in remarks that leave you with a lingering sense of unease. Jung reminds us that the way others treat us often reflects what we have unconsciously learned to tolerate. If you find yourself justifying his words, telling yourself he's just joking or he didn't mean it, you may be overlooking a toxic cycle quietly embedding itself into the relationship. A man who truly values you will never resort to words that diminish you, not even under the guise of humor. The question Jung would ask is, why are you willing to tolerate this behavior? What within you allows you to overlook remarks that you know wound you? Often, from childhood, we are conditioned to believe that love and criticism go hand in hand, that being loved requires us to endure discomfort and reshape ourselves to be accepted. But this belief must be unlearned. Real love strengthens you. It does not take your strength away. If a man uses his words to chip at your confidence, to make you feel smaller instead of greater, then the problem does not lie within you, but in the way he chooses to treat you. The sixth behavior is marked by a calculated emotional distance. He never gives you his full attention, yet he is never entirely absent either. There's always an invisible barrier between you, preventing true intimacy. At first, he may seem merely reserved, someone who just needs time to open up. But as days, weeks, and months pass, the truth becomes harder to ignore. This distance is not temporary. It is deliberate. He always keeps part of himself hidden. And the closer you try to get, the further he retreats. You begin to notice that, while you may know his habits, his preferences, even the details of his daily life, his fears, wounds, and deeper emotions remain untouchable. When you ask about his feelings, his answers are vague. When you attempt to build a deeper connection, he changes the subject or makes you feel as though you are asking too much. Jung explained that some people avoid deep relationships out of fear of what they might uncover within themselves. But in this case, the distance is not only a defense mechanism, it is a tactic. By holding back, he keeps you striving to earn closeness, pulling you into a dynamic where you remain emotionally hooked, almost hypnotized. The alternating rhythm of closeness and withdrawal has a profound effect on the subconscious. Jung noted that the mind seeks to fill voids, to resolve what feels incomplete. And so, the more distant he becomes, the more you long to reach him. You give more, wait longer, show greater patience, believing that eventually you will break through the wall. But the truth is, that wall is not there by accident. It is the very mechanism that sustains the game. He maintains emotional reserve precisely because without it, he will lose control of the relationship. And so Jung would ask, what drives you to chase someone who so clearly does not want to be caught? What inside you makes this struggle feel worthwhile? Perhaps it is the subconscious belief that love must be difficult, that the harder we work for it, the greater its value. But that belief is misleading. Real love is not a maze where you must prove your worth at every turn. If you truly matter to him, he will not keep you at arm's length. So perhaps the real question is not whether you should keep trying, but why you feel the need to try at all. The seventh behavior is emotional instability, a recurring pattern of broken promises and sudden shifts. One moment he is affectionate and thoughtful, and the next he grows distant and indifferent. One day he speaks of the future with enthusiasm, filling you with hope, and the next he behaves as though none of it was ever said. According to Jung, every human being wrestles with the tension between the image we project outward and the emotions we conceal within. This man has mastered that duality, weaving closeness and distance into a deliberate pattern that keeps you emotionally tethered. He does not want to lose you, but he refuses to offer real commitment. The result is a cycle of emotional highs and lows, a pendulum swing that leaves you never knowing which version of him will appear. This inconsistency is not accidental. Jung observed that people often project onto others the parts of themselves they cannot bear to face. In this psychological game, He cloaks his need for control in the guise of spontaneity. Though he claims to dislike labels, to prefer living in the moment, to avoid drama, he is, in truth, orchestrating everything with precision. He cultivates an atmosphere of uncertainty that compels you to fight for his attention. The more he oscillates between tenderness and indifference, the harder you try to prove your worth. Cling to the hope that if you do everything right, you will bring back the man who once seemed so in love. But beneath the surface, the effect on your subconscious is corrosive. Jung explained that recurring emotional patterns shape our attachments, creating a deep hunger for validation. In this instability, you begin to blame yourself, thinking perhaps you were not charming enough, perhaps you said the wrong thing. Yet the truth is this: the fault is not yours. It is the consequence of his deliberate manipulation. He never intended to offer you emotional stability. He thrives on the control he holds over your emotions, on how a single gesture, a subtle expression, can shift your entire mood. The question John will raise here is this: what draws you to someone who keeps you suspended in constant uncertainty? What within you makes insecurity feel more alluring than stability? Sometimes the subconscious confuses emotional turbulence with passion, as if difficulty itself increases the value of love. But this illusion comes with heavy consequences. Real love is not a riddle to be solved, nor a mystery to be decoded. If he truly cared, you would never feel the need to prove yourself again and again. And perhaps the greatest truth you must accept is this: his inconsistency is not the result of immaturity, nor of fear of commitment. It is a deliberate choice. And now the choice lies with you to stop tolerating it. The eighth behavior is selfishness, disguised as freedom. He places his desires above yours so subtly that, for a time, you may even believe it is normal. If he wants to spend time with friends, he does. If he needs space, he withdraws. Yet whenever you ask for something, he finds a reason to justify why it cannot be done. He speaks of autonomy, of how relationships should not impose limits. But in truth, the freedom he praises exists only for his own benefit. Meanwhile, you are left in a delicate position, careful not to seem demanding, striving to be understanding while he continues his life as though your presence were merely convenient. Jung taught that the ego is adept at weaving stories to justify its choices. This man uses the language of freedom as an elegant excuse to avoid responsibility, offering nothing beyond what serves him. But his version of freedom follows a telling pattern. When you seek space or time for yourself, it suddenly becomes a problem. When you begin to distance yourself, he senses it immediately and reappears almost by instinct. Yet his return is never marked by true commitment, only by small gestures designed to rekindle your hope. He tells you he's missed you, insists he's been thinking of you, and claims he longs to see you. But as soon as he feels your heart opening again, he slips back into his selfish and distant ways. According to Jung, some people do not seek genuine love at all. Instead, they crave the validation of their existence through the attention of others. This man may value your presence, but he has no intention of surrendering even a fraction of his freedom. And so you find yourself caught in an endless cycle. You adapt, you bend, you give, while he offers nothing in return to balance the relationship. The greatest danger of such behavior is the subtle way it convinces you that you are the problem. If you ask questions, he calls you controlling. If you express hurt, he says you're exaggerating. If you set boundaries, he labels you unreasonable. Jung observed that we all carry unconscious patterns that repeat across our lives. Many women who tolerate this dynamic were once taught that asking for love, attention, or commitment is asking too much. But that belief must be unlearned. True love should never feel like a burden. You are not meant to shoulder the entire weight of a relationship while the other person makes no effort to meet you halfway. Here, Jung would pose the vital question: why do you continue to settle for less than you deserve? What within you values his freedom more than your own emotional well-being? Healthy relationships are not built on strategies, calculated absences, or hollow promises. Authentic love is harmony, two souls choosing, again and again, to share their lives. If you feel like you are the only one who ever tries, then the painful truth is that he was never truly present. And now the decision lies with you. A man who only uses you will never give you honesty. He doesn't need to be honest with words. His actions already reveal who he truly is. And if you look closely, you'll see the same cycle unfolding again and again. Lack of commitment, emotional distance, subtle manipulation, and selfishness disguised as freedom. According to Carl Jung, the human mind has a tendency to project onto others the very parts of ourself we would rather not face. So if you find yourself in this kind of situation, it may be time to ask, what part of me still believes I deserve less than real love? The moment you recognize these patterns, you begin to regain your power, and that is the beginning of true transformation. Because love is not meant to be a battlefield where you must prove your worth, nor a game in which the other person always holds the upper hand. As Jung reminded us, the journey of self-discovery is the path to freedom. And freedom begins the moment you decide to stop accepting less than what you deserve. The right man will not leave you uncertain. He will not make you question your value. He will not keep you trapped in a cycle of seeking validation. Instead, he will be there steady, present, and willing to meet you with the same devotion you give. If what you've heard today has offered clarity or comfort, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. By doing so, you help this message reach more people who may need the same insight. And if you've experienced something similar, share your story in the comments below or pass this video along to someone who needs to hear it. Until the next recording,